Okay, so what you want is a safe producer. But I just threw at you so many settings and stuff to set that you may be lost. So here's a summary, and then we'll go hands-on and do a demo. If you have Kafka less than 0.11, the best you can do is this. You set ax equals all at the producer level, and that ensures that the data is properly replicated before an acknowledgement is received. We'll set min insync replica equals 2 at the broker or the topic level, and that ensures that at least 2 brokers that are in sync will have the data when we get an ACK back. And we'll set retries equals max integer at the producer level to have a very high retry period. And then we'll also set max in-flight request per connection equals 1 at the producer level to make sure that we don't lose ordering guarantees. Okay, if you don't mind ordering, then set it to 5, leave it as is. Okay, now if you have Kafka greater than 0.11, then we'll just say enable idempotent equals true at the producer level and min insync replica equals 2 at the broker and topic level. And as we said before, when we enable idempotents, that implies that ax equals all, that the retries is max integer, and that the max in flat request connection is 5, okay? It also manages to keep ordering guarantee and improve performance at the same time, which is quite impressive. And we also don't get any network duplicates. So running a safe producer, though, I may say, might impact throughput and latency, okay? You want to always test for your use case. Basically, surely maybe you'll get a little bit less performance than without the idempotence enabled, but is the latency still good enough for you? And do you have a high enough throughput? If that answer is yes, then absolutely use enable idempotence. So let's go ahead and test this out in our code. Okay, so here is all the producer configs, and we can see that ax equals 1. We can see that max in-flight request per connection is 5. We can see that retries is 0. And we need to set these things to basically make sure our producer is idempotence. We see enable idempotence equals false. Okay, so let's go ahead all the way down where we create our Kafka producer, and we're going to set safer. So we'll create a safe producer, and so we'll add some properties. So properties.setProperty, and the first one I told you about is producer config dot enable idempotence config, and the value of which is true. Now, we don't need to set those, but it's always good to set them explicitly just to make sure that people don't guess and understand how things work. So we can say producer.config.axconfig equals all. The second one we set is properties.setProperty producer config retries equals integer.maxValue. Okay, and this needs to be a string, so we'll do integer to string, and we'll pass in this value. Okay, so this looks nice. What are we missing here? We are missing our producer config dot max in-flight request per connection. And because we are running Kafka 2.0, so Kafka 2.0 is greater or equal than 1.1, so we can keep this as 5. Use 1 otherwise. Okay, so we keep max in-flight request per connection at 5. And so all these settings should be enough for us to have a safe producer. Okay, so let's go ahead and just run this to see if everything is working as expected. So we run the code. And if we look now at the config, we can see that the producer config values are ax equals all, and then enable idempotence equals true. And I also have my retries right here, my max in-flight request to be 5, and everything is set correctly. Okay, and my code has not changed at all. It has not changed at all, which is really, really neat. So now if we get any data out of it, any tweets, well, everything works just fine. And that's the power of Kafka. You really need to just set a few properties and you get a completely different behavior without changing the actual producing code. Okay, so that's about it for creating a safe producer. I hope you'll have this in your code base, and I will see you in the next lecture for having throughput improvements.